Been at PPM Fulfillment. I'm a co-owner, one of the founders, and we started this in 2009. It kind of scares me when I think about that occasionally. What are we, 16 years in? A lot's happened in this industry over the 16 years.
What do you think traditional fulfillment world still gets wrong about supporting clients?
That one size fits all, one price point fits all, one solution fits all. I don't want to ever feel like I'm a cookie cutter company. From that standpoint, you hate to just always plug people into the same solution.
Do you think the U.S. fulfillment industry is ready for the next 5 to 10 years of demand when it comes to the DME side of things?
I do. I really do. The competitors that are in this market with me, I can't downplay them at all. They're good competitors. They're great. I just hope they acknowledge that we do a good job. From that standpoint, I think we're going to be well suited for it. Everybody has a place. Everybody serves a special market. There's so much change going on in the freight business. The thing we battle with is, man, they got a hold of surcharges during COVID and they love them. They love that word. So we're constantly battling with our carriers. And one of the things that we do, and I alluded to it, we are business outside of this too. It's to help bring that leverage back into this industry.
All right, we are live on the #1 DME podcast in the USA, claim to fame. Chris Hoffman from PPM Fulfillment, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm glad to be here on the #1 DME podcast. I like it.
Yeah, welcome. Chris's first podcast, so.
Yeah, very first. Listen to many, so hopefully it's not as bad as what I've heard in the past.
There you go. Chris, before we get too far into the podcast, can you let everyone know a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your company as well?
You bet. Chris Hoffman, dad of one and husband of one, so that get all that out of the way. So been at PPM Fulfillment. I'm a co-owner, one of the founders, and we started this in 2009. It kind of scares me when I think about that occasionally. What are we, 16 years in? As everybody here knows, that a lot's happened in this industry over the 16 years. So, but yeah, we started out in this. There's a little bit of work we did on the outskirts of a DME business prior to this startup of PPM, but it wasn't as integral as what we're doing now. So started with a very small warehouse in 2009, hustling like crazy. We didn't have a lot of backing. And then, as the years went on, we've slowly advanced, but we've always been in the Louisville, Kentucky area. One location, we serve nationwide. Try to make it easier on folks. One inventory location. It makes it for more streamlined for the patients and what have you.
Awesome. Well, Chris, take us back to the beginning. Before PPM Fulfillment, what was your kind of first taste in the supply chain distribution world? How did you actually get into this? 16 years ago.
How about Forrest Gumped it? Prior to the start of PPM Fulfillment, we were selling freight into the HME DME space. So we were working with either mail services or FedEx Freight, FedEx Parcel, trying to get customers lower rates is one of them amounted to. So we were knocking on the same doors that we would knock now through the resupply business, but we were just trying to get them favorable freight rates for multiple years. And then kind of this coalesced a little bit, 2008, 2009, somebody came to me with a couple of people that wanted to jump into business space, and this has always been growing around. So we decided everything was kind of coming together at that same time. Competitor of ours, I think everybody knows who that would be, was stepping into the space at the same time. If you think about it, the CPAP supplies is the perfect market to do this in, to be there's been different terms. We're not a consolidator. We're not a true consignment. So let's just kind of use that term as a consignment model. With CPAP supplies, one manufacturer can't control the drop ship because there's so many different patients that have maybe 3 manufacturers sitting on them at one time. Might have one machine, another type of mask, maybe using tubing and filters from prime manufacturers that are creating the devices. So to create a true dropship program, we have a manufacturer was next to impossible. And that's kind of opened that space. So right when that resupply was gaining steam, and we had to do a lot of education early. So it felt like in 2009, we had to explain what resupply and shipping and consignment model and inventory and everything was. So how we were talking to people in 2009 is drastically different than how we're talking to people in 2025.
Yeah, resupply is I feel like on the tip of everyone's tongue now. It's always part of the...
Oh, yeah.
It's hot right now, yeah.
Yeah. But man, back then, it was just that was still the golden age of DME, where we didn't have a lot of competitive pressures and things like that. So it was a lot more educational during that time. And it was kind of fun, frustrating, I'm not going to lie. Because, you're kind of a trailblazer. You were following a certain path. You were teaching people there is a new path. there is better ways to do things. So.
Was there other companies like yours out there then, or were you guys the first to do this, or what
I'd
was
like
done
to say
before
we were the
people-
first by maybe a week. No, but I did it at the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah,
Well, it
that's-
doesn't. It still counts. Okay. You can still say you're the first.
Jim Lord's not with you,
Yeah.
so
I mean, it's
I'll
like
take it.
one twin is like technically older than the other, so
You got it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. From a marketing
And-
perspective, you can still slap that on there.
You got it. And if you can get bored around that midnight time, you might be a day older, Wayne. So you can go like
Yeah. There you
that.
go.
But no, we were kind of came into it at the same time. And if you remember a company by the name of Med Group, that was kind of our backing at the time. They're no longer in the space, or they've been sold. The Med Group was a group purchasing organization that we were able to partner up with early, and we had some good contact. These are old names coming out. We had some contacts with MedSage at the same time.
Yep.
From a patient contact, and that you can think of the patient contact systems we're getting. They wanted more patients on theirs. Wayne, we had a conversation offline about the parameters we're looking for a business. And, they, of course, everybody wants more patients on the resupplies. So to get more patients, they said, well, we can't ship these supplies out. Well, we got a solution for you. So you can imagine how this just kind of like a little snowball sort of rolling downhill.
absolutely.
Chris, you kind of emphasize being nimble and custom. I kind of done my research, so I checked all these things out before.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, traditional fulfillment world still gets wrong about supporting clients?
That one size fits all, one price point fits all, one solution fits all. I don't want to ever feel like I'm a cookie cutter company. I hate that. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Used to be. I don't know if I want to do that again. But from that standpoint, you hate to just always plug people onto the same solution. So from our standpoint, we were able to go to customers. We've done pricing multiple different ways. There's some insurances that only allow maybe monthly supplies that can go out. You can't get a 3-month supply, and it's frustrating for some. We develop pricings for that. We've also developed pricing for some customers, love it. I mean, if you think about the e-commerce space, and we do have some work in the e-commerce, we're pretty diversified in what we do. It's kind of I don't mean to be a knock, but this is what I've always stressed. In the e-commerce space, our customers always want to know what the actual cost is on every package that goes out the door. They want it, but they want it the lowest they can be. So number of picks, the order, the freight, the package, everything. We jump over to this space where we're not able to get money back from that shipment, and they're kind of just to be a flat rate feel that people want. But I've had some customers jump in that have been in that e-commerce space and says, I don't want to flat rate anything. I know some of them are going to cost more, some are going to cost less. So we've been able to do pricing to that point. But a lot of what we've done is to create some lower weight pricing. Let's do an analysis on your shipping and make sure we're hitting all the sweet spots. I just hate to plug someone in and say, this is what you're going to get, and I end up hurting them more than helping them.
Interesting. And that said, you work with everyone from startups with no infrastructure to large international companies. What's the most common pain point, like new clients coming to you have with their resupply business?
In the past was changing. That was a big thing. I can get the owners of the companies a lot of times to feel like to be on board, but to develop that change all the way through their chain, a little rough. And I think you guys in your space would know that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Change is hard, and especially if somebody's been doing it for years a certain way. But from a standpoint, organizational is getting things tied up. Especially, you mentioned, and I've alluded to a couple times, we do work outside of this, like CPAP resupply space as well. It may still be some patient direct, but it could also be e-commerce space. And the biggest thing is getting the organizational in there. So let's say we're bringing products on board. This is such a classic term, garbage in can equate to garbage out. If you don't get the right information, right everything, it just trickles down. So no matter how hard we try, if we can't get everything tied up front. So I would say the biggest thing is we've all been at this a little bit. We've been at it. We could see where the trouble's coming from and trying to explain to the customer there was a pain point coming that you need to address without telling them they may have done something wrong in their system. And I can't believe that you guys haven't said that somewhere along the line.
Chris, what's your favorite type of client to work with? Is it more of like the scrappy startup kind of company, or more of like these big players making an expansion push?
We've worked with the big players. We do a little bit of work with them at times. We're kind of an escape valve. I haven't based my business on that. Doesn't mean, hey guys, anybody listening out there, we'll listen to you. We'll get some good pricing to you. But we just haven't made that an emphasis of our marketing is to go after the national players. That's just not where we've always been. Scrappy new guys are fun, and gals, don't get me wrong, they're fun to bring on. We want to make sure that they're at least over not a certain threshold, but a certain part of their business. Make sure that they're established. And I think the biggest thing is getting these account numbers of the manufacturers. We're not a distributor, so sometimes that kind of catches people off guard thinking they can access products from us without an account number with the manufacturer. So we got to get them to at least that point. If they're at that point, they're fun to work with. We get to see them grow. And, it's fun to be a part of that growth as they go. We try to help them out along the can. There'll be bumps and bruises. But at the same token, we've had a lot of customers on for multiple years, and you go back and you've seen the steps they've made, and you see the system changes they've done. Maybe people moving over to an ecosystem, things like that. You just see as they progress through the business, it's been fun. So, yeah, I've mentioned startup a few times, startup at heart, but make sure that they've got a little bit of established basis, because sometimes they come to me a little early and it takes about a year to hear back from them.
Definitely. Yeah. To get to the point of implementing a software like ours, being able to do it right from the system sounds simple, but there's people out there that are not doing that today. Just makes such a difference.
Yeah. I would say the hardest ones we have, I'll probably say the terminology wrong, but sleep labs or not even labs, but doctor's office, things like that, where they're operating a DME on the side. Those system integrations get harder because they're more physician side. So that gets a little dicey on that one. But other than that, if we go into a true DME, and it's good to hear every Metroid, every show I run into, I'm just coming into the market. I'm just coming into the market. I'm just doing this. And that's really good to hear. For a while, we didn't hear that. For a long time, I'm exiting the market.
I actually think it's because of folks like yourself that provide this opportunity where they don't have to hold massive amounts of inventory.
Exactly.
Lowers the barrier of entry. So there's definitely new market participants for sure that, don't have to go get a massive warehouse. So
you bet. And you saying that, Wayne, it's funny. I tell people we only use one manufacturer because it's simpler to inventory. I'm like, you're not inventorying anymore.
Yep.
Start saying yes to your patients instead of no. Open the doors. There's a handful of manufacturers, a little harder to get account numbers with. The other ones tend to be a little bit easier. Open the doors so you can say yes and not limit patient access to products.
Are the products, I know, of course, you guys do PAP resupply. Do you do anything outside of that, like in the diabetic space, or is it mostly still CPAP stuff?
Mainly still CPAP stuff from a consignment model. And we looked at the diabetic market. That thing launched quickly and went, as you know, and big. We all know that's an enormous market. And it got consolidated down to a handful of players pretty quickly, too. But the other thing is we can hold inventory as well. We are not afraid of it. So if there's something that somebody wants to experiment with or get into, they can buy that inventory, place in the warehouse. We've talked about our customer base and, who we're marketing to and who we're targeted to is, we're looking at the mid-level players, the regional players, when we have, maybe even just a family-owned business, things like that. Those are our players we want to work with and doing it. We want to concentrate on what they're doing.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
I was just going to say, logistics kind of has changed massively, with e-commerce, right? I mean, Amazon expectations are huge. Global supply chain shifts, things like that. It's just a completely different world now. What's kind of the biggest trend that you're watching right now?
That's a good question. You caught me when you said that Amazon expectation. That was pretty hot there for about 5 years ago. COVID put an end to that. They want an Amazon experience on a beer budget type thing. So
right. Everyone does.
There's a lot of that going on. But I think from the standpoint, there's so much change going on in the freight business. The thing we battle with is, man, they got a hold of surcharges during COVID, and they love them. They love that word. So we're constantly battling with our carriers. And one of the things that we do, and I alluded to it, we are business outside of this too. It's to help bring that leverage back into this industry, because we know this industry, you have X amount of reimbursement. There's no change in it. Unfortunately, our customers can't say they're going to go over a price increase. And then headwinds keep blowing at them. It sounds like we have another price decrease coming. So I think it's smart and good business logic if we are bringing in other sources of revenue shipping to help reduce those pressures. That way we can beat back a lot of the surcharges, things like that. One thing that there is a bit of, I think the players got a little bit better in the work share market. Not all direct USPS, not all FedEx. One of the things that the big carriers brought on was I'll use FedEx for example. They brought up ground advantage or ground economy, excuse me. That's FedEx's way of looking at this market that says, well, maybe we can dabble in this medical market or this direct-to-consumer market. We say patient, I always say direct-to-consumer to cover everybody, but they're delivering on a FedEx truck 7 days a week to mail addresses, trying to get that rate lower. So you get a little bit better coverage than you would through postal services. It costs a little bit more, but for those that want that level of touch, you can have it. So I see carriers working hard to some in the market, some getting out of the market, but that's also getting a little turmoil. But since we came through, I would say the biggest thing I've seen since COVID is just the settling of the market yet. It had to take a while to mature for the last 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation a few times on the podcast about how COVID has changed this business model, or it's changed the landscape a lot. It's put a lot of companies out of business, and it's made other companies sort of better or change the way that they're doing their operations. So it really has been sort of like this massive shift in the space, right?
Yep. Customers' expectations have changed just a little bit, not to say they went down. It's just they understand. I think everybody got a better sense of what the freight market was through COVID. Because everybody's living in it. I mean, you couldn't necessarily, depends on where you lived in the country, you took away the ability to go to the store and get what you wanted. So all of a sudden, everybody understood freight and shipping and what have you. So I think it raised the level of knowledge of what not everything is a bad thing in the market. I think there are hiccups and there are good things. So I just think it leveled out that people know what parcel freight is now.
Chris, do you think the U.S. fulfillment industry is ready for the next 5 to 10 years of demand when it comes to the DME side of things with all the baby boomers and definitely a shift towards resupply and outsourcing it to third parties like yourself?
I do. I really do. The competitors that are in this market with me, I can't downplay them at all. They're good competitors. They're great. I just hope they acknowledge that we do a good job. So from that standpoint, I think we're going to be well suited for it. Everybody has a place. Everybody serves a special market.
Sure.
The big McKesson Cardinals, they serve multiple markets. You get the VGM was a competitor of ours. They narrow down the markets a little bit more. Us, we specialize. And what do you need? We're always asking, what do you need? If there's anything we can bring in, these customers are going to have to go more and more e-commerce and retail and cash pay and things like that. And we want to be ready with that with our integrations that we have. So by us being more knowledgeable of doing more e-commerce, more along those lines, it's only going to help this industry as they have to move towards that, because there's going to be more and more cash pay.
Yeah.
It's coming.
What type
Am I going to answer the AI question today? I'd probably read to answer that one, but things change.
Talk to us a little bit more about the e-commerce side. I think that's interesting. Now, when you say integrations there, like, what's the lay of the land on the e-commerce side of resupply from your point of view?
From resupply, it's just more people getting more and more educated to know that they can do retail. I mean, that was an uphill climb that we had I was working closely with Med Group during the first go-arounds of competitive bidding and things like that. And that retail business was early on then. I mean, that was going back a few with e-commerce not have exploded yet. But from where we are, I think most of our customers that are coming in new understand that e-commerce has an ability to work it. So we want to have the Shopify's, the BigCommerce, the WooCommerce, the API integrations, things like that. So when you ask for nimble, hey, you've got developers that are building your site, here's our connection, get it done. So we have customers that might be on an eco integration and a Shopify integration. Not a problem. It's not going to hurt anything. So, and then there's also some customers that are doing a secondary business, if you can believe it. So there are some things around, and that might get into more garments, things like that, versus more direct medical supplies, but it's in the same category.
Is that what you guys do outside of DME, like garments and things like that?
We have a big shoe company even on board. It started out small. It was a diabetic thought. Well, that's gone. No, so we have that, and then we have a lot of health and well-being products. So it's not like I'm working with diesel parts in the warehouse.
Yeah, I was curious, but then
Not
I
totally
guess
out of the wheelhouse,
thing is
right?
like
No,
the
we're not going
economies
out for
of,
it.
but the economies of scales of doing these other markets can help, I guess, lower the costs on the DME segment. Is that what you were alluding to earlier?
Yeah, if you can gain volume and
Yeah.
gain, I mean, B2B volume, things like that, just give a better, how would I say it, a better deck of cards to the freight companies. They'll look at all the way across the board and say, all right, you guys are diversified around and what have you. So, like I said, most of the products from a 10,000 foot elevation, okay, you're kind of you're over here in this space. We don't have anything too far. And I get calls all the time, can you do this? I'm like, we can, don't want to, because we try to uphold standards of what we're doing in the warehouse.
Chris, let me
Nice.
ask you the main buzzword question that we seem to ask everyone on every podcast. How do you see AI shaping up in your industry, and how do you see it benefiting you or not?
You're asking the thing that I think about on every long walk every morning is where this is going to go. As I maybe listen to
You've been prepping for this day.
No, as I listen to a Rogan podcast,
yeah.
the AI everything. That'll be three of us that don't even exist anymore having this conversation. So
Right.
there's that far over to that side, and there's a little bit over here. But from an AI, I look at it from an AI on a fulfillment standpoint, not necessarily. It's understanding what people want, a little bit. So I think it's a little upstream from us. I see it from a standpoint of knowing resupply, knowing those types of patterns and what have you, to know contacts. It's gonna take this information. You start getting more and more data on patients. It's gonna start knowing, there's your patient right there, sitting in your zip code. Here's the phone number type thing.
Totally.
It's gonna go there. How that's gonna hit us from an AI standpoint, from a business perspective, from managing the business, I can see it all the time. But taking it down to the floor, I can see where it could easily map warehousing. It can do a lot of different things with package dimension sizes, trying to cut costs, trying to cut all the, because it's seen this package 50,000 times over, things like that. We have software that does that now, but I think it's just happening in such a fast time. And then also being able to help carriers. I think that's where a big one's going to be, is moving those packages through the system, watching for roadblocks, knowing where they're going to be, driving the trucks, running the robots and delivering the package to the door. I'm getting a little far.
I mean, I've seen some like AI like in warehouse, like the robotics in warehouses is insane.
Oh, dude, the ones that the
It's
little ones that
insane.
look like
It's insane
people and they
now.
move things around
Yeah,
really
insane
quick.
now,
Like,
right?
I want to see the
Yeah, if you
ones
can
when
look-
they deliver by air. That would be pretty cool. Those little drones that
That is-
drop off all your stuff.
There's a show that happens in Chicago, I think once every 2 years. I try to stay away from it. I let the operations folks get into that one, but it takes up the whole McCormick Center. So if you've never been there, it's huge. And I mean, you can run a warehouse with just people replacing solenoids.
Crazy.
They've got everything you need on it. So it's amazing what can be done. And then you add AI on top of that, I think they'll probably be taking over the ownership of the companies too, because it's
Well, there was a country recently that I think they just elected an AI politician into
I
office.
think I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going so well. I think the entire country is having an uprising, but I see the idea.
Yeah, I talk about all the changes that hit this industry in 15 years. Let's have this
Yeah.
conversation in 15 years and see where
Right.
AI is. I don't know if anybody knows the end goal.
Well, the podcast will be live on Spotify for 15 years. We'll see if this thing, if it
We'll send some bad
ages
ideas there.
like wine or cheese or milk, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, Chris,
But
since AI
I'm
hasn't,
afraid it's going to be a little bit more like milk, Alex. I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be-
most likely. Yeah, it's better chance it's going to be milk.
well, Chris,
Yeah.
while we still have you here and you're a human running the company and AI hasn't replaced you yet, what is one piece of advice Chris Hoffman, the human being, would give owners who feel overwhelmed by like fulfillment challenges, just some stuff you've seen over the years?
What we're finding a lot of folks right now, there are companies that change from a competitor to a competitor. I get that. Something happened. One thing we want to tell folks right now is that we are very conscious of our price points that we're giving our customers, okay? We're not trying to get out there. But from starting from that standpoint, the number one thing I want to tell customers, if they're doing fulfillment in-house, if you're still doing it in-house, I've been preaching this for 15 to 16 years, and if it's a smaller company, more than likely you're not having somebody put those packages out the door. That's their only job. They're doing other things, and typically that might mean RT. It might mean somebody with some significance within the business. you're losing money immediately. It's a crazy way to do it. I know it feels like you're hands-on, but there's zero value you're putting into a cardboard box going out the door. All the value of that is upstream. And move all that value upstream. By the time you touch the box and you're out there in the warehouse picking items, you've lost all value in that resupply patient. That's just the net. Let us do that. And then, if you're struggling that employee's not there, maybe you do have an employee that does that and they're not there every day. That's our responsibility. Our inventory goes down. So if you've been in this space for a long time, take a good hard look at your company. Hey, I can do this cheaper. I'm looking just at freight rate. There's more to it than freight rate. I preach that. You can't just look, I'm paying USPS this much money. What are you paying for stock, as you alluded to, Wayne? What are you paying for your employees, your everything? And, I need employees to do this. Well, maybe that employee that's been doing that fulfillment for 10 years, 5 years, they know everything else. They've been in there. It's learning by osmosis. Move them up the ladder. Let them do something else. So if you're a DME, HME company in this industry, doing it on your own right now and thinking, patients coming in the door, unless they're buying something else retail, you're losing money on that patient. I know it's a hands touch, but sometimes they're having a 5 to 10 minute conversation. That doesn't happen with the warehouse going through the fulfillment process. Now, if you want to be hands-on with your resupply contacts and having a name, a conversation, a live voice, have at it. But again, that brown box doesn't mean anything when it comes to getting the supplies out the door. So just level up your business. Make sure you know where your costs are. And I might be sound a little hard. Don't lie to yourself when you're going through that. There are some costs that you don't want to own up to. And that's especially with another thing, a competitive bidding coming down the road. Take a good hard look at it and make sure. And there's one other one, there is a headache cost. Every owner has a headache cost. And you can't value it. You just do it on your pillow at night. You're worrying the drive home. You're worrying in the morning. It's that headache that you like to get rid of. And find that and get rid of it.
Totally. Well,
Awesome.
Chris, that's really good advice. Really appreciate that. So usually right now we kind of go to this or that rapid fire to close out the segment, and we can get started if you're ready for it.
I hope so.
All right, let's start it off. Faster shipping or lower costs?
This was PPM strengths.
No, this is just what you'd prefer to do. Which ones you prefer?
Okay. I like them both. Fast response shipping.
Okay. Warehouse technology, robots or people?
I'm still leaning on people just because of the complexity of the business. We have so many SKUs.
Shopify integration or API integration?
Shopify's fine. API, everybody else gets to do it. Shopify, we get to do it. So I'll take it both. Shopify.
Worst nightmare, inventory errors or late shipment?
Inventory errors, because they will always equate to the next one, late shipments. So inventory errors, yes, number one.
In logistics, art or science?
Broke up there a little bit. Logistics, what?
Is logistics an art or a science?
Science.
Boom.
Science.
There we go. All right, we wrapped up our segment. Chris, thanks so much for
Questions?
joining us today. Hey, if anyone wants to reach out to you or find out more about your company, how can they contact you?
Simple ways, ppmfulfillment.com. You can find us there all the time. Emails Chris at ppmfulfillment.com. There's only about 3 of us that have that. We're the starters, so
Awesome.
pretty easy to find us. And I bet you Nico's got our site up there on theirs too. So go dig around Nico's site and you'll find us too.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for
thank you
joining
now.
us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you both.
Awesome. For our listeners at home, if you have not yet subscribed to the Claim to Fame podcast, please do. Chris, thanks so much. Let's do this again. Take care.